This is the Plan Commission meeting of Tuesday, April 22nd, 2014. Roll call.
Johnston here.
David here.
Speedy here.
Corral here.
Seifert here.
Chandler here.
Open seat for Alderman Mahowski's retirement, and we've got two other commission members that are gone tonight. Item number 2 is minutes of the April 8th, 2014 meeting. Need a motion for approval.
Seifert moves to approve the minutes of April 8th, 2014.
Johnston seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
David aye.
Speedy, aye.
Corral, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Item 3 is significant common council actions. Carrie.
Council approved resolution approving a certified survey map for the properties at 9921 South Shepherd Avenue and 635 East Fitzsimmons Road. Also, a resolution approving a certified survey map for the properties affected at Oakview Business Park. Mr. Mayor.
Quick. Item 4 is a sign appeal hearing for property at 9810 South Ridgeview Drive, submitted by Tony Lavelle, Tread Rock Tire Service, that would allow an additional wall sign on the facade of the building.
Lights freak me out.
Oh, tax key number 9030010. You're testing my reading ability in the dark. Good thing I got my glasses. I'm good. Who's reading the public hearing? Carrie. Someone's reading.
Published April 10, 2014, City of Oak Creek notice of public hearing before the Plan Commission. A public hearing for a sign appeal will be held on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2014 at 6 p.m. at the Oak Creek City Hall Common Council Chambers at 8640 South Howell Avenue, Oak Creek, Wisconsin 53154. The appellant is Tread Rock Tire Services, tax key 9030010 at 9810 South Ridgeview Drive. This is to request a variance from section 17.0706 sub H1, which states that single and two-tenant office, retail, or manufacturing buildings shall be permitted one wall sign per tenant per street frontage. If granted, this variance would allow the tenant to erect a total of 3 wall signs, one on the east, south, and west elevations of the building located at 9810 South Ridgeview Drive. All interested persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present, dated this 10th day of April 2014, by the Plan Commission. Mr. Mayor.
I'll make 3 calls for public comment on the sign appeal hearing. First call. If we have questions, the next part is for you. Second call. And third call. Seeing no public comment, I'll close the public hearing, and we'll move to 5A, which is the actual sign appeal for the property at 9810 South Ridgeview Drive, submitted by Tony Lavelle, Tread Rock Tire Service, allowing an additional wall sign on the facade of the building. The applicant is here. We'll see if they have questions. You can come up, just give your name and address for the record. We'll open up at this time to any questions. Commissioner Corral.
I guess the applicant, I'm not sure based on the layout of the building, what the extenuating circumstances or community benefit of the sign, additional signage. What's the reason?
I'm Richard Koss with Midwest Sign and Lighting. The reason is they want one sign to be visible from the freeway, which is going to be already approved on the north side. That would be northeast corner. They're tucked back in this industrial park, so they got no sign on the front. They wanted at least, be able to direct people to the building, have something out front. No, they could just put one out front, but they're trying to get signs up. People know they're back there. They're tucked away. It's not like they're on the main drag or anything, and there's no directory sign for the industrial, what if you want to call it industrial park back there. Like, some places will have something out on Ryan Road or something, directing for all the businesses back there, but they don't have anything like some parks do.
Thank you.
Pete, have we done this before on freeway locations like that?
There are several examples throughout the city that have buildings with signs on multiple sides of the building.
Okay, not setting a precedent.
No.
Okay, Commissioner Chandler?
Is it common to have signs on the 3 sides, though? So the south, the west, as well as the freeway?
Sure, we have buildings throughout the city that have signs on multiple elevations. Right now, just thinking of one on, well, if you look at any of the strip malls on Howell Avenue, you got Buffalo Wild Wings on the east and west elevation, Subway east and west. It's common to have two, not necessarily common to have three. If we're looking at history, Burger King, if you recall, had many multiple signs on 3 elevations that were discussed at that time. So it has been brought before the commission in the past, and it's up to the commission as a case-by-case situation. Is this appropriate location for 2, 3 signs in this particular case?
Thank you.
Commissioner Siepert.
I was down there this afternoon, and they have a road sign coming into the road to their place. They also have a 4x8 ground sign on the west side that's been there for, I'll bet you, 6 months or a year. And they also have, it appears, at a big highway sign that's up in the air 25, 30 feet that's facing the expressway. So additional signage, I don't see it.
Commissioner Johnson.
I just don't see the need for a 25 square foot sign when you're 100 feet away from a freeway and cars going 70 miles an hour. I don't think that's a big benefit for the public out there.
Finished?
Yes.
Alderman Bekavich.
My question concerned if they have a monument sign out front. I realize they face the expressway and they currently have a sign, but it is tucked away. When you go back there, you really got to be looking for it. I'm just wondering if they have a permanent monument sign, because as Fred stated, it's kind of a temporary sign out there, if that would serve on the west side. I don't know what you're going to get off the south from the expressway versus the north. So I guess I need some explanation on that. So.
You can come up again. Talk about what they're trying to accomplish with the signage.
Well, there is a temporary sign out there, and one that they have illegally that they've been notified to take down, I know. I've told them I had nothing to do with that before I got involved. They're trying to get the one in front that you mentioned, the 25 square foot, that's in front of the building. So when you pull up, there's a sign there, that's all they're asking for is identification on the front. The one in the corner, they did the best they can. They put in one in the back corner, there's visibility from the freeway. They're truck tires. Truckers come by all day. They kind of give them an idea, hey, we're back here, without renting a big billboard or putting a high-rise sign up. Yeah, they could put a monument up, but obviously they're looking at cost, and it's cheaper to put a 25 square foot sign on a building versus, a $5,000 or $6,000 monument out front with brickwork and electrical and all that. So that's all they're trying to accomplish. And yeah, the third one, that's questionable, whether they can see it from the freeway, but they're just asking for it, If they didn't think I didn't sell it to them, they came to me, so.
Commissioner Correll.
Well, a couple of points already made, but to Pete's point on a couple of the examples, we've put front signs and back signs in front of strip malls because it makes sense. You've got traffic going both ways. You mentioned it yourself. You got a billboards available on the back for the expressway, if need be. I just don't see how that size sign, one, makes any sense, and two, we could have a lot of businesses decide to do that. I'm not sure if that's what we want for the same rationale as the strip malls on Howell Avenue. The Burger King, part of their brand package, I don't think it's the same thing as putting on these 3 signs. I don't think it's a comparable example, and I think we've gone out of our way as a commission for the last number of years to look at corner buildings and giving them 2 sides, look at front and back on outlots to give them 2 sides, and I think we've been pretty consistent in sticking to that as a rationale and a consistent approach. So I really don't see the third one whatsoever. I don't see this building really meeting the corners of Main and Main type example or the strip mall. So even for me, the second one's, the best use would be a monument, although more expensive. The best fit for that building going forward is a monument up front that tells people what's there. So we're kind of taking a more inexpensive alternative, which isn't our call. So if we stick just what's the best signage use, I'm looking at a monument sign.
I think there's work to do on this I mean, just adding signs for exposures is great for business, but it's not necessarily good for the look of a city or look for business.
I didn't
So-
think they were too big.
What's that?
I didn't think they were, an excessive amount of signage, pretty small compared to the overall size of the building.
Given what our standards are, it's a little bit over the top for that kind of a business, but, I mean, I'll let the commission do what it's gonna do, but, to me, I think there's more work to be done on this issue. All right, what's the commission wanna do?
Corral will make a recommendation to deny the sign appeal for 9810 South Ridgeview Drive.
Seifert seconds.
Hold on one second. Why don't you just make the motion and vote yea or nay on the motion as written on the agenda?
Well, it isn't, Steve, Mayor. There isn't one written, they don't make a recommendation.
Okay, got
so
it.
I think that's
You're
the
right.
only way I can go at
Yep,
it.
you're right.
You're right.
Okay. Seconded?
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Bukavich, aye.
Scafidi, aye.
Corral, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
All right, moving to 5B, temporary use permit, reviewing a request for a temporary use permit submitted by John Zignago Company, Inc. for a temporary concrete batch plant within the Wisconsin Department of Transportation right-of-way at I-94 and Rawson Avenue, the exit ramp. Do we have the applicant or representative of the applicant here? Yes, okay. Carrie?
This is a request for a temporary portable concrete batch plant in the right-of-way as highlighted in red. It's probably not going to be taking up exactly that amount of space there, but that's the best I could do because it is within the right-of-way. So if you want to see what they're looking for, here is kind of a site view of something else that they had done elsewhere, type of equipment that they're going to be using, and their site plan. No crushing is proposed with this request. All materials to be used in the production of concrete will be hauled to the site and stockpiled or stored in sealed silos or bulk containers, but additional materials will also be stored on site outside. I apologize that you can't really see where things are on here, but this is the location of their proposed sand stockpile, their proposed location of stone stockpile. Here's some storage bins in here. And here's their access point here. The entire location will be fenced in with a gate. They're expecting 3 to 5 employees. The gate will be locked. They are anticipating initially 150 truckloads per day to be hauled for stockpiling, and 50 loads a day will be hauled on an as-needed basis. Additional details were provided in your packet. Their days and hours of operation, generally operating Monday through Friday between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Saturdays, the hours were not specified. It was just as an as-needed basis. They would be closed several days surrounding holidays. I should note that the noise ordinance limits the hours of operation to between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. unless otherwise approved by the city engineer. Erosion control details have been provided. Sill fence will be around the entire site. There will also be some inlet protection that will be under WISDOT control. The concrete plant itself has a dust collection system. However, water for additional dust control will be supplied to the site via water truck. Staff did mention that we have some minor concerns for the hours and days of operation that were proposed due to the noise ordinance. So although the proposed hours of operation for Monday through Friday are in compliance, extended hours and Saturday hours have not been specified in the application. Therefore, since there are residences to the west of the proposed site, staff makes a recommendation that weekday hours of operation not extend past 8 p.m. and Saturday hours be limited to between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. The staff recommendation for the overall project is that the Plan Commission approve the temporary use permit for the temporary concrete batch plant within the right-of-way at I-94 and Rawson Avenue, subject to conditions 1 through 4. Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Bekavich.
I guess right off the get-go, we have done this in the past, and obviously it's for temporary road work. They're going to be working on the expressways and hauling this stuff out. 2 concerns is safety, the truck traffic coming in and out, and also the maintenance of the site. You guys are going to drag up a lot of dirt, and I know you're going to propose to sweep it, but our idea of what you're dragging on to the entrance ramp and what our residents are going through and people from Franklin and whoever uses it, may be different from what you have proposed. Do you have a schedule of twice a day, once a day to clean that up?
Yes, when we're. Come on up to the mic and name and address for the record.
John Zignago with the Zignago Company, and it's at West 226, North 2940 Duplainville Road, Waukesha is our main business address. And according to the permit that we have gotten from Milwaukee County, which your staff has, I believe it was in your packet, we are required to power sweep on on the days where we're running heavy, and then we will have a pickup broom come in at night and clean the road when the.
Is that a nightly stipulation that the county put down on you to power broom that? Or do you just do it at discretion?
It requires to power sweep once per day and as needed to keep the road clean.
I guess
And
I'm
the
asking,
county will be monitoring that, and I'm sure, I mean, we will, when we're running busy, we'll have them, night works the best because of the low traffic volume. And sweep all, we use them all the time. We'll have them come down and sweep the roads when we have a lot of truck traffic.
yeah, I guess I'm asking that you really keep an eye on policing that. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
also the safety aspect, the trucks in and out, and obviously, the entrance to it will fire, obviously you're getting cement trucks through there, but fire department have access to that and everything they need going forward. Mike,
The site will be required to follow all applicable fire codes as far as the access roads and having access to the gated portion when the facility is in lockdown. There is also a notation in there about fuel tank storage on there. That would be something that we would also inspect, as would the state, as necessary for that. So yes, they would need to comply with all access requirements.
okay. Really, that's about it. It's necessary, and obviously you're gonna be doing road work in the area, so, I don't have much heartburn with this whole deal.
Okay, thank you.
Are you okay with the hours that, the limits that are expressed in the ordinance?
Yes, we'll, I mean, it's your noise ordinances, so that'll be fine. And Saturday work, we don't anticipate at this point many Saturdays. It's merely a precaution so that we don't have to come in front of you guys again.
Right.
And it's only if based on conditions beyond our control, if we start running behind schedule, and in the fall generally is when we have to work Saturdays, if we see that the projects aren't going to be complete before winter time, and the only way we can make up time is to put more hours in, work more days of the week. So it's just to, like a safety valve
Flexibility.
for us, yes, right.
Commissioner Johnson?
I was just gonna point out the same thing Dan said, that this is similar to the Michael's Bench plant that we had up on Sixth and College last couple of years. This is for the Ryan Road project. Milwaukee County has already approved the permit for this, as this is a county road and not a city-controlled Boston Avenue, so that was all.
And then I didn't get any complaints on that plant. I don't know if the alderman did.
No.
If they did, they didn't pass it on to me.
First district, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, so I mean, if it's policed and it's clean, kept clean and it's watered when it needs to be watered, typically we don't have any problems, and they're temporary use, so. Other questions? Motion.
Kevich will make a motion that the Plan Commission approve the temporary use permit for the temporary concrete batch plant within the right-of-way at I-94 and Rawson Avenue, subject to the following conditions. 1, that all building and fire codes are met. 2, that any hydrant usage is approved by the water utility. 3, that the hours of operations be limited to Monday through Friday between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. and Saturday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. and that the temporary use shall expire on January 31st, 2015.
Chandler, second.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Bukavich, aye.
Screeney, aye.
Crowell, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Good luck. Item 5C, plan review for site building and landscaping plan submitted by Brian Walker, Clayco, for a proposed manufacturing facility at 111 West Oakview Parkway in the Oakview Business Park, tax key number to be determined. Carrie?
Test? Okay, good, it does work. This is a plan review for a proposed manufacturing facility with office space within the Oakview Business Park, temporarily named Project Red, located in the area highlighted in red down here. This is Howell Avenue right here. This is the proposed Oakview Parkway Road right here.
On the east side of the parking lot.
This is just a general site plan showing the property lines roughly right here and the proposed layout for the building. These are sight lines for the building, if you can, I don't know if you can really see that. The proposal is for a 164,007 square foot building, roughly 24,000 square feet of office space, 20,000 square feet of dry storage, 99,000 square feet of factory or production space, and 20,000 square feet of freezer storage. All loading docks are located to the rear or the south of the building. There will be no access off Howell Avenue. There will be two entrances off of Oakview Parkway, one roughly right here and the other right here. The applicant expects 130 employees to start, which would equate to about a minimum of 135 parking stalls, but 204 are proposed with these plans. The building will be constructed with precast insulated concrete wall panels and also insulated metal panel walls. Rooftop mechanicals have been proposed to be screened with metal panels. There will be a two cooling towers and nitrogen tank on the south that won't be screened. However, the height does not exceed the maximum as allowed in the code. There is a section of code that states that prefabricated steel panels are not permitted. However, these metal wall panels are for refrigeration and expansion purposes. This will need a 3/4 majority approval of the Plan Commission. They are appropriate in the short term, however, they should not become a long-term feature. So staff has proposed a condition to convert the metal panels, at least along Howell Avenue, to match the precast walls if the plan expansion is not commenced within 5 years of the date of the initial occupancy of the building. There has been a bit of discussion with the applicant about the time frame for this. They're thinking maybe a little bit longer of a time frame might be required for their expansion. Staff is fine with extending that time period. No signs are proposed at this time. There has been preliminary designs included in your packets, but those are not finalized. The landscaping, as proposed, also meets the requirements. There was one concern that was raised by a resident in the neighborhood for odors, so if the applicant could provide some clarification on that. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approves the site building and landscaping plans for the Project Red property, Lot 3 of Oakview Business Park, which is 111 West Oakview Parkway, with conditions 1 through 4. Mr. Mayor.
So to clarify, on the metal panel conversion, they are asking for more time than 5 years?
Correct. There might be, they're saying maybe 6 to 7 years.
Okay. If they're being used for expansion purposes at the beginning, how does that change 5, 6, 7 years from now?
I'm not sure I follow your question.
Is there another, the real question, is there another treatment that could be used that wouldn't look like metal panels?
Well, they'll be painted to match the color of the precast, so it'll be a little bit, it'll match the building in terms of, in that respect. But the metal wall panels are insulated, so it helps with the fact that this is a refrigerated area on both sides, and both of those areas would be expanded. It also makes economical sense to be composed of that type of material rather than a precast right away.
Okay, Commissioner Corral.
Mayor, you were kind of going the same direction. I guess, Carrie, what is the plan to approve it at 5 years and have them come back and ask for an extension?
There's two ways that the Plan Commission could address this. One, you could say 5 years and then come back if you determine that you need more time. Or two, you could just say, we'll give you 7 years, and then if you need something beyond that, come back to us. You could change the recommendation or the condition.
I guess my opinion in it, 130 employees and a lot of really good things going on with this building. I think that's great. Everything works out and they're good neighbors for 5 years. We'd look at extending it. I don't know it throwing out there at 7 right off the bat. I think we try to encourage them to get that done, and there would be great. So I would recommend leaving it at 5 and having the opportunity to extend that.
Done?
Yes.
Commissioner Bekavich.
Yeah, Pat kind of summed that up there, and again, I truly hope this business expands within 5 years. And I think it's more than fair to do that, given the scope of what they're taking on. I guess my question is the planning. It's great hindsight, you looked ahead, but is there any teeth to what happens in 5 years if the economy or the business is just sort of flat and they can't afford this expansion? And what do we do about these metal panels at that time, other than keep extending and extending until it just never happens? So
A representative of the businesses here, and be happy to have you speak to some of those issues.
Yes, hi, my name is Jen Guzman. I'm the CEO of Stella & Chewy's. With regards to the request for the 5 to 7 year window, a major reason for the request for it to be a window of 5 to 7 years is because we do have, Stella & Chewy's does have the option to outright purchase the building between the 5 and 5.5 year mark. So if we did that, we would want to start the expansion after the purchase option. In terms of the growth and the momentum in our business is growing at about 45% year over year right now. We believe at the inflection, at the tipping point, really, of our growth curve. The business was founded in 2003 and has been growing at these kinds of growth rates since then, and we anticipate that to continue. While we will have over 130 employees at the company, when we move in the first quarter of 2015, we anticipate by mid-2016 for that number to be 160 or higher. So we feel very confident about the growth prospects.
Just a question, at the 5 to 5.5 year mark, if you choose not to purchase the building, would you proceed with the expansion?
Yes.
Either way, whether you own or lease?
Yes, definitely. We already have the expansion mapped out. The building, which is 164,000 square feet to begin with, is expandable to 280,000 square feet. And we're also looking at a option to purchase the adjacent 4 acres of land that would accommodate another 50 to 60,000 square feet.
And just one more question. On the expansions, because I realize, they're insulated panels and you're refrigerating whatever product you have. The expansion, is that office space, or would refrigeration go in there?
The expansion is refrigeration on one side and additional warehousing and freeze-drying space on the other. And in addition to that, the office space would be expandable.
Okay. And I guess this is a question for our city. How far off are we on the percentages with the metal panels as they stand? Do we have those calculations, guys?
We did receive those calculations, and we received the percentage of precast versus the panel for each of the elevations. And on the east elevation, it looks like it's more than half. On the west elevation, it's 68%. So on the other two elevations, it's less than 15%.
Okay. And we need 70, what's our ordinance?
75% as brick, masonry, or glass. But that's of the visual perimeter.
Yeah. Right. In east and west, we're talking Howell Avenue, and then, of course, the new road. So Howell's really the big one, but again, I'm excited for this business, and I'm willing to work with it.
And if I could just interject, there has been landscaping that was extended, or they did a lot to their landscaping plan along Howell Avenue. In fact, I can bring that up. It's not really clear here, but basically this whole side has been proposed to be landscaped.
Is that the east side?
Yes, and I can give you
Is that a berm, Carrie? Or is it just like,
Here, if I bring up the color rendering, you can kind of get an idea of what that would look like.
While we have her here, Jen, if you want, just talk a little bit about Stella and Chewy, since I've heard this story, and it's pretty significant.
Yes, yes. So, Stella and Chewy's was actually founded by Marie Moody, who's a native to this area. She was actually grew up in nearby Muskego. Stella and Chewy were adopted back in 1998 and 1999 from rescues at the time when Marie was in the fashion industry. She was in the fashion industry for some time, but when her rescue dog Chewy was very ill, she took him to a vet. At the time, the vet suggested that she put Chewy down, but she felt like there was something really special about the dog. So she said she was going to try to get him better, and the vet recommended she feed the dog a raw diet. So at the time, there really weren't any raw diets commercially available, so she started making raw pet food out of her kitchen, and moved to New York City to try to take another job in the fashion industry, as she likes to put it, got fired from a few more jobs, and then decided to sort of take the leap of faith and really follow her passion. And that's when she started the company Stella and Chewy's, and really started it originally in New York City, handing out samples of this premium raw dog food on the corners of the city and giving it away to pet stores until she got her first order. So the business started to get some momentum in New York, and as it did, she thought, for the kind of product that she was creating and wanting to provide, in order to guarantee the quality and the food safety of the product, she really needed to produce everything herself. And that's when she decided in 2006 that she wanted to bring the business to this Milwaukee area that she was familiar with, where there's a lot of great manufacturing talent, a community that has been always very supportive. And so she founded the first plant in Muskego on January 1st of 2007. That was a 5-year lease on that facility. By November 2011, the company had outgrown that facility, and at that time, we moved into our current facility on 5th Court, 2842 5th Court in southern Milwaukee. We have a 5-year lease at this facility, and I guess we're almost a few years into it now and find ourselves needing more space. And so this time we decided to really put down some really long-term roots in the community of Oak Creek. We're extremely excited to be moving to Oak Creek. And this built-to-suit facility is a facility that we're planning to be at for the next 20-plus years. It's a 20-year lease, long-term lease, and we have the option to purchase the facility. But, our business prospects look really good. We grew last year at about 45% year over year. We are just entering the Canadian market. We are going to be expanding internationally starting mid-2015. We actually can't start that expansion until we have the additional space. And, the freeze-dried and frozen portion of the pet food industry is right now less than 1% of the entire industry and growing at double digits. Stella & Chewy's is the leader in that industry. And, we continue to produce everything ourselves. That's a real part of our differentiation. And so this facility is very important to us.
Excellent. You had a comment?
Oh, yes, just Debbie was just reminding me, there was a question about odor. There's really no odors that are emitted from our facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Jared, do you have a question?
I wanted to quick weigh in on the metal panels issue.
Sure.
This has been a matter of great concern to us, and since the modifications have been made to the overall building design in the last 2 weeks, this building has improved many times over in terms of its appearance, plus the topographic difference between Howell and the final grade and the extents of the landscaping. The east side, we believe, will be very well mitigated. The west side really doesn't impact anybody. We have 4 acres left. We're really hoping that the Stella and Chewy's, now that they've disclosed, will be acquiring that property and expanding there. So we think this is an excellent kickoff. The reason we're concerned is because institutional grade buildings are typically precast concrete. We've developed 4,000 acres of business parks, and I would say that 20% of our buildings have metal panels, either for refrigeration purposes or for expansion purposes, and it's never been an issue. So as developer, as representative of the developer of the park, we're very supportive of this.
Thanks for the information. Commissioner Chandler?
What's the type of equipment that will be in the building?
The type of equipment, it's everything from grinding equipment to what we call patty making or forming equipment to freeze drying equipment and packaging equipment.
And are there any special needs from the fire department for these items?
While this facility will certainly be unique to the community, at this time, we don't anticipate any special needs outside of our standard pre-planned program and familiarization with the structure.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one additional question. Does the 45-foot tank, is that acceptable?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
the height limit is 55 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Seifert?
I have a question about the dog run. I just happened to read into the listening, and it mentions that you're talking about a dog run on the east side of your building.
Yes.
Can you give a little more explanation?
Yeah, this is for the office dogs. We let our employees bring their dogs to work, and so this would be a open area for the dogs to, run around in, sort of on an interim basis. And they wouldn't be out there all day, but just to be able to take the dogs out and take them for a little run around the enclosed area.
Okay. Would it be enclosed as far as landscaping so that it wouldn't be visible from the highway?
Would it be visible from the highway? Yeah, no, it would not be visible.
Okay.
Commissioner Krill?
Already answered as far as my concern on the percentage. The visible side is pretty close to what our requirement is, I think is the bottom line, right? And the other, did I get that, Carrie, correct? The visible,
The east is half, is 50, correct?
The metal panels on the east and west will not meet the letter of the code unless it has a 3/4 majority approval from the Plan Commission. The percentages for those areas were at,
like 60-something.
68
Okay.
on the west side, if I wrote it down.
West side 68, east 50, and the other side was...
There are two sides we don't,
Right.
I'm not as concerned about. Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Do you have a comment, Pete?
no, we're having technology issues.
Commissioner Chandler?
What would be the times for the truck deliveries and pickup?
Lloyd, do you want to answer that one? Lloyd's our Director of Operations.
Just identify for the record as well. And I forgot to ask Jerry Frankie, but I think we all know who Jerry Frankie is by this point.
Lloyd Parks, Director of Operations, Stella and Chewy's. It would be first, second shift operation. There would be a third shift operation, but we're not going to reach trucks for a long, long time into that. Mostly trucks because of taking stuff to raw materials in and out. It's usually day shift.
Okay, so both first and second, or just
Day
first?
shift mostly. It's going to be usually about any time between probably 5, 6 in the morning through probably about 5 in the afternoon. We usually don't receive loads any time after that.
And only Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturdays if we have to get a truck out. Trucks out Sundays, usually not.
Okay,
Hasn't been the case so far.
Typically a Monday through Friday operation.
Yes.
Okay.
thank you.
Alderman Bekavich.
I'd like our city planner, Doug Seymour, to just kind of ring in on the 5 years. The only issue is, for me, I mean, I'm not concerned about the metal panels if they're going to expand and what have you. But the 5 years, your feeling on it, and if this is just going to turn into metal panels for life.
Well, that Doug Seymour, Director of Community Development, City of Oak Creek. Dan, you're correct. I mean, we have full confidence that this business will expand. But having said that, I don't want you or someone else on this commission 10, 15 years from now to look at that building and say, well, why they still have metal panels up. So we want to find the appropriate length of time that's in the comfort zone of the business, of the developer, the owner of the structure, but at the same time, if this is to be a long-term solution, you need to be aware of that. And I think that finding that comfort zone of whether it's 5 years or 7 years, just having the certainty of that it really sends a signal to other people who may want to use metal panels that, it's not something that we prefer nor encourage. Excuse me, but if there's a solid reason for it, and if there's a solid plan for converting those, we will support that business.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, come on up. Name and address for the record.
Larry Godiger, G-O-D-A-G-E-R, 10144 South Warwick. I heard the comment about any odor, and I'm glad to hear that. I don't know too much about dog food production except my experience in the old 3rd Ward where they used to make it. And if anybody here has any experience with that, it really emitted an odor. And I don't want any trade secrets about how they make this, but are they using carcasses from other animals? Can I ask that?
We can have a representative of the company come up. They already have testified that there's no odor, though. It's a different process.
Again, Lloyd Parks with Stellan Trees. I think the one thing to put people at ease on this, well, I have been in pet food facilities that definitely do give odor. Those are usually cooked facilities or product is raw. All our material comes in frozen state. It is freeze-dried. Kind of wish I had a sample so you could see what it smells like.
Rendered.
But no, absolutely nothing rendered. Definitely not. The mentality of the company is raw. You could probably rehydrate and put it on a grill and eat it yourself. I mean, it's that high quality. It's definitely no odors coming off of that.
That's all I wanted. I just didn't want to have a yard full of people and say, hey, we got to move inside.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. Thanks for asking it. Yes, Mr. Potter.
Jim Potter, 10656 South Howell. I was wondering, I didn't hear where the dog runs are. Are they on the east side, west side, north, south?
Talked on the east side.
Oh, they're in the middle?
East side.
Okay, and how many dogs are there going to be? 2 or 40?
Come on up, Jen.
Yeah, right now, to give you an idea, we have about, 6 dogs at the office on a day-to-day basis. The people that are actually working in production, they can't bring their dogs to work just because it's not viable. We don't allow dogs in the production area of the plant. So it's really the office personnel that are allowed to bring their dogs to work. And, right now we have about, I would say, 20 to 25 people in our front office. And, maybe 25% of those bring a dog to work. So it's never going to be a huge amount of dogs. And, quite honestly, at some point, if that was the case, we'd have to change the company policy because we need a productive office environment. So.
Thank you.
It's a good question.
Thank you.
Like I said, and as Jerry said very well, this is a company that's leading their market segment. It's high growth. They had other options where they could go. This is going to be our lead, our signature first company at Oakview Business Park. Having met their leadership and some of the people that work there, a tremendous first-class company, a good story for Oak Creek and the area, and a good story for the Oakview Business Park. Other questions or comments before we put it to a motion? Motion on 4C.
Kavich will make a motion that the Plan Commission approve the site, building, and landscape plans for the Project Red property, Lot 3 of Oakview Business Park with following conditions. 1, that the pre-finished metal panel walls shall be converted to a more appropriate material, such as precast concrete, etc., if the planned east expansion is not commenced within 5 years of the date of the initial occupancy of the building. 2, that all building and fire codes are met. 3, that detailed lighting plans be approved by the electrical inspector prior to the issuance of building permits. And 4, that the grading, drainage, and storm water plan be approved by the engineering department prior to the issuance of building permits.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Scavidi, aye.
Corral, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
All right, we're starting on the process. Welcome to Oak Creek. Moving on to 5D, certified survey map submitted by Pete Caruso, Black Bear Bottling Group for the properties at 9750 and 9770 South 20th Street. Tax key numbers 903, let's just say tax key numbers as listed. Carrie.
The applicant is requesting permission to combine the two properties at 9750 and 9770 South 20th Street. Black Bear is currently in the process of purchasing this property right here from the city. It's no longer used by the water utility. This is required in anticipation of relocating the approved parking for the Black Bear's facility, which will be along this area up here. Per the water utility, an existing hydrant will have to be removed or relocated. We recommend that they work with the water utility and the fire department on the hydrant location. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map for the properties at 9750 and 9770 South 20th Street be approved with the condition that any technical corrections are made prior to recording. Mr. Mayor.
And this was a plan that Director of Planning Development Doug Seymour came up with because we had some issues with their previous site plan and where they were going to put their parking. So Doug should get the credit for this because he's the one that came forward to plan and the credit the rest of the folks for seeing it through. This is a good solution. Again, a high growth company, lots of expansion, growing market segment. Another good story in Oak Creek, good business story. So can't say enough about Black Bear. They're also great community partners. Questions or comments on 5D? Commissioner Chandler.
Are there any issues with relocating the parking? Anything there that needs to be taken care of, removed, revised?
Actually, that'll be on the very next agenda item.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Motion?
Corral moves that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map for the properties at 9570 and 9770 South 20th Street be approved with the condition that any technical corrections are made prior to recording.
Kavich will second.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Corral, aye.
Seifert abstains. I'm a commissioner on the utility.
Appropriate.
Chandler, aye.
All right, moving to 5E is the actual site and review of site and landscaping plans submitted by Pete Caruso, Black Bear Bottling Group for revisions to the approved parking plan for the property located at 9770 South 20th Street. Tax key as listed. Got some more for us?
Just checking that we had a quorum on the last vote. I believe we had 5.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
5 works.
Thank
right?
you.
That was close.
Yeah.
We had 5. Okay, so
Sorry. Were you all set?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the second part of that CSM equation here. We had been talking to Black Bear about the location of their approved parking. It was approved on the south side. More appropriate location for the business is on this side, so therefore the CSM was required in order to be able to cross that property line. The reconfiguration of the parking at the front of the building will result in 10 parking stalls on the north, 12 parking stalls on the east, as well as a new 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk and concrete patio. This is in conformance with the requirements for parking for this property. Landscaping is also proposed around the concrete patio and reconfigured parking. There was a recommendation to include additional landscaping in the place of a driveway, which will be removed, which is right here. You'll see that this is proposed to be one island here. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approves the site and landscaping plans for the properties at 9750 and 9770 South 20th Street with conditions 1 and 2. Mr. Mayor.
Questions on site or landscaping? Commissioner Curl.
It's the right answer for the property. It's a huge improvement from how it was, so I don't have anything.
Great company. Commissioner Chandler.
And any issues with relocating the parking?
Not with this configuration following the CSM.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bekavich.
I agree with Pat 100%. I'm very familiar with it, and moving the loading docks over, it just huge improvement. Thumbs up to you guys. Really good.
Again, thanks to Doug. He thought that out, and that was problematic. We were trying to figure that out, and he came up with the idea. Any other questions? If not, motion on 5E.
Kakavich will make a motion that the Plan Commission approve the site and landscape plans for the properties at 9750 and 9770 South 20th Street with the following conditions. That all building and fire codes are met, that plans are revised to include additional landscape in place of the middle driveway.
Krill seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Kakavich, aye.
Sweetie, aye.
Krill, aye.
Seibert, aye.
Are you sure?
Yep, because this is just landscape.
Okay. Okay, and Chandler, aye.
All right, item 5F is a conditional use permit request submitted by the Southeast Wisconsin Baseball Booster Club, Inc. for a conditional use for an indoor recreational facility on the property at 6758 South 13th Street, tax key number 735-9044. And we are actually going to use some technology that I don't think we've ever used at Plan Commission before that I can remember.
We do also have a representative here in case this doesn't work.
And who is that? All right, you're here. And we're calling up Al Feckler, former Mayor Al Feckler. How you doing, Al? Can you hear me?
Al, can you hear us?
All right, welcome to the meeting. We've got to turn up his volume.
Yeah, volume never works in this building.
I believe so. I don't remember ever doing this before, so.
How is outer space?
Can you hear us okay? Perfect. So we're going to open up to questions. Carrie,
Can you put a mic next to the speaker?
very nice.
Okay, Al, so I'm going to give a brief presentation and then we'll let the Plan Commission ask in questions. Is that okay with you? Can you hear us? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
All right, go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, so this is a conditional use permit request submitted by the Southeast Wisconsin Baseball Booster Club for an indoor commercial recreation facility within a portion of the existing building. It'll be used as an indoor baseball and softball team training facility to be called The Zone. And here's a schematic of the interior design of what the facility will look like. It'll be about 15,000 square feet. It'll have padded turf and netted infield, batting cages and pitching tunnels, pitching machines, and a soft toss and tee work area. There will be no changes to the exterior of the building. No outdoor storage has been requested. A maximum of 2 teams will be permitted within the building per scheduled time block, which is 2 hours. Weekdays, hours of operation will be between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m., weekends between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. Parking lot is currently striped for approximately 40 stalls in the front of the building to be shared by all tenants. Based on the fact that this is a maximum usage by approximately 40, including the team members and the coaches, we would equate that to about needing 10 parking stalls. Now, there's no way of knowing how many parents are going to be, sticking around to watch the practice or what have you, but we believe that there's plenty of parking there to be used. No employees will be on the site, although there might be some employees within the other parts of the building, or the owners of the building might stop by. Coaches will be given access cards and codes, so it'll be similar to, as Al mentioned to me, like a fitness facility. There are no trash receptacles that are proposed. They'll be using whatever is on site. No sign is proposed at this time, although if a sign is needed in the future, they would just need to obtain a permit. Conditions and restrictions would be provided to the Plan Commission at the May 13th meeting if this is approved. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council approve a conditional use permit allowing an indoor commercial recreation facility located at 6758 South 13th Street after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions that will be prepared for the Commission at the May 13th meeting. Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Krill.
Couple of comments. First off, Al, I wish you did this 20 years ago because I've driven all over the state with kids playing baseball. So great addition to the community, and obviously so many community kids that are going to other areas. So that's great. I had some concerns about the electronic key entrance supervision. I've got a son that plays down in South Bend at college ball, and that's how they operate. The teams come in, the kids have their card, and it's all monitored. So I guess that's kind of state of the art for a facility like this.
We're trying to find where the microphone is on that thing. Just keep talking.
So actually, the manager will be the one that gets the code to enter the building. This is used right now. The teams that I manage, we use the Halo, which is an indoor facility on 53rd and Lincoln in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee Angels run that, and it's the same type of operation there. There's also the Racine Baseball Co-op that's run the same, but this is actually a little different because the code will be time specific. So if your team has 6 to 8 p.m. on Monday, the code that you will have will only work 20 minutes before that time period and during that time period. So if you show up on Tuesday, you won't be able to get in the building. Other teams will presumably be in the building. At these other facilities, they actually just have one code that all the managers get, and they just put it in and go in, and you, in theory, could go in at any time. So we're also obviously investing quite a bit of capital costs, so we're going to be including a state-of-the-art security system, a camera system to monitor everything. Plus, I'll probably be there a whole bunch myself with I've got all those kids, will be there quite a bit.
Last question would be, based on the size and with the infield area and stuff, is there room in this building for expansion?
The other side, where it's half of the building, 15,000 square foot of a 30,000 square foot building. In theory, the other 15,000 could be available. Peter Flagg Trust owns the company right now, or owns the building right now, and they use part of it for dry storage. So in the future, if there would be expansion, that would have to be negotiated with them.
Thank you. Good luck.
Alderman Bakavich.
Al, you pretty much hit on most of the questions that I had concerning no employees there with 20 minutes in, and the managers will do it. Who's going to shag them out after 2 hours that they just don't linger in there? And also, what if a kid were to get hit with a ball or something? Is there first aid going to be available for these, or is it just total liability on the team managers?
Two things. Number one, the next team will absolutely get the prior team out because they're going to want to get in there and use their time. And because of the video monitoring, if teams that have the last slot are staying extra, there will have to be a discussion with them about the proper use and getting out on time. Liability-wise, right now, I carry a first aid kit with my team as a manager. To be honest with you, I hadn't thought about that, but we should probably have a first aid kit in there, with bags to crack ice or to crack open for someone gets hit, something like that. That's probably something that we would want to provide.
Okay. Otherwise, I'm with Pat. Great idea down here, given Oak Creek's history of baseball and the way the kids go at it from the time, before they go to kindergarten. I think they're in T-ball. So, excellent. And good use of a building that needs a tenant. So, good for you, and keeping it local. Thanks.
Was that building empty other than Eater?
It was empty for quite a while. Black Bear is currently using it, but I think their lease is up and they're moving out right now. They were storing soda in there.
Excellent. Commissioner Chandler.
So what are the age groups for the kids that can come?
Typically, the ages start at 8U. So for instance, my 8-year-old Lucas has the 8U junior nights. They would be a team, because I manage a team that would be using the facility. 8U through 14U are typical kind of select travel baseball. age groups, and then after that would be high school. I've already talked to Coach Holler. They're obviously absolutely interested in using it for the high school team as well. And as much as I would like to keep this an advantage for Oak Creek, unfortunately, to fill it and make the rent, we're going to have to open it up to others. So there would be other communities that are going to use the facility in the area.
And hopefully you don't
So
go west
the
with
age
that
of
off.
high school-
Go ahead. Commissioner Seifert.
Hi, Al. The question I have is, how do these teams get a hold of you to schedule time to use your facilities?
Well, we're going to have a website. We're going to have phone numbers. It's going to be basically everything running through myself. It's going to be something where it's first come, first serve. If you want the prime time, say Saturday morning from 8 to 10 or 10 to noon, the first team that signs up for that, the first two teams that sign up for it, through contacting myself. It's very much going to be a word of mouth thing. I can tell you the word is already spreading. We've kind of tried to keep it relatively quiet, but teams are hearing about it and are excited about being able to use it in the area. So part of it's going to be word of mouth. Part of it is going to be me, approaching all the teams in the area: Oak Creek Junior Knights, Oak Creek Storm, the Oak Creek High School, Franklin, Black Sox. There are just numerous lists. And this will also be softball as well. Softball is a huge program in Oak Creek and surrounding communities. So it's really a word of mouth filtering back to me and scheduling the time periods. Because once you get a time period, it's yours. It's not going to be scheduling something constantly where we're going to have something scheduled all the time.
The other question, would you work with the Oak Creek Park and Recs Department for this?
Did I work with them on
Would
this?
you work with the Oak Creek Parks and Rec?
You know what? There has not been any specific things that we've done with them, but this may be a great facility to do things with Park and Rec out of. That's something that we'd obviously be open to doing it. The fact of the matter is that we're doing this as a nonprofit. We're not out to make money. We're just providing a facility. We're tired of going other places, and it's difficult to do this, and we're managing to get it done. If we can provide it as teaming up with Parks and Rec, that kind of fits in with our whole theme of, make it available for kids and the community.
Good, Fred.
Okay.
Commissioner Chandler?
Do you have a system in place to eliminate teams booking multiple times, kind of taking up a lot of space during the weekdays as well as the weekends? Like, for example, a whole day. Is there a limited amount of time that each team can have per day, per week?
In theory, no, although it's going to be, if a whole team wanted to book the entire weekend for a year, in theory, that helps us pay our rent. But
We want to see you busy, Al.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that it's going to cost for a year membership about $200 a kid. So if they're going to try and book up multiple time periods, it's going to get pretty expensive to do.
Thank you.
So that's kind of, it's kind of self-limiting and just the cost of it for the teams.
Commissioner Correll?
Two things, Al. I think I spent about $4,000 to build one in my backyard for my kid to get to college, so $200 a year, I'm all in. More importantly, is some of the facilities we've used have had, I'm not sure how they work back to the medical question or emergency question, some almost like my mom or seniors use direct contact or to emergency outlets or something to call. And just from a liability standpoint, you might want to look at some of those. I've seen it at other facilities. So there's a kind of a hotline emergency available or directive to the teams to use when it's unsupervised, I guess.
Okay, absolutely.
Al, when do you think you'd be, as you go through the process and get approved, when do you think you would be getting set up, and then when would you be open?
The goal is to ultimately get council approval on June 3rd. Once we have council approval, we will be able to take possession of the property, so presumably on June 4th. We would have security and lighting done the first half of June. The second half of June would be the netting and turf. We're using a national company called On Deck Sports. Believe it or not, I didn't know this until we started looking into this. There's actually a company that exists that all they do is they outfit indoor facilities. So we're not doing it ourselves. We're not trying to do it just kind of quick and throwing up. But they're actually bringing in installers from Georgia. They drive up, they install the turf, they install the netting. It's about a 4 to 5 day process is what they told me. So in theory, by the end of June, it's going to be ready to go.
Nice.
Now, in practice, in reality, the hot time period for an indoor place is probably more like November to April, that time period, that 6-month period. But we're thinking that those first 2 months will be a good opportunity to get teams in, let them see the facility. They can even have their tryouts. Most teams have tryouts at the end of July or early August. They could have their tryouts in there if the weather's not good. Again, just to get teams in there to start seeing it. The goal would be to start the memberships on September 1st.
Excellent. Any other questions for Al or the other applicant? Nope. I think we're ready to make a motion.
Can I make, and I don't know if this needs to be included in ultimately the conditions, but I know we said the weekday time period was from 4 to 10. During like periods of spring break or winter break, weekdays we may want to run some clinics during those weeks, have different coaches come in and run clinics for the kids. So I don't know if there can be some provision where that would be allowed during, school break periods where we'd be able to use the facility at an extended time, or ultimately just make it 8 to 10, 7 days a week, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue. I don't know that's necessarily our purview today, but
It would come on the next meeting.
yeah.
Conditions and restrictions.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem, but we'll take that up next meeting.
Okay.
Do we get a motion?
Correll moves the commission recommends that the common council approve a conditional use permit allowing an indoor commercial recreation facility located at 6758 South 13th Street after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions that will be prepared for the commission at the next meeting, May 13th, 2014.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Bekavich, aye.
Screedy, aye.
Correll, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
All right, moving on. Thanks for joining us, Al. Last item tonight is a plan review of site plan submitted by Jamie Vega, Milwaukee Area Technical College, for revision to the approved parking plan for the property located at 6665 South Howell Avenue, tax key number 718-9961-002. And do we have a representative? Yes? Carrie.
MATC is requesting permission for a parking lot expansion, roughly 35,000 square feet, northwest of the building complex and existing parking lot. The applicant has been working with the engineering department for grading and stormwater, those kinds of issues. The proposed location meets all setback requirements. This is the area where they will be expanding roughly. So here's the existing parking lot here. They'll be putting, I believe, truck parking here. The staff recommendation is that the Plan Commission approves the site plan for the property at 6665 South Howell Avenue with the condition that all required stormwater, erosion control, and grading plans are submitted for review and approval by the engineering department. Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Chandler.
I just wanted to ask the question, what is the parking used for the applicant?
Excuse me, I'm trying to shake a cold, so I might be kind of coughing. I'm Jamie Vega, Director of Construction, representing MATC for 6665 South Howell. Your question, I'm sorry, was what's the use for now?
The additional parking, what's the use for that?
The additional parking will be an opportunity for the college to consolidate our 8 tractor-trailer units that we have that serve our driving training facility as well as our diesel repair shop. Currently, we have them kind of staggered throughout the campus, and we'll have to have the opportunity. If you can go back a slide, there's an area, thank you, just west of the main building up there in the corner. We call that the compound, and the compound is relatively cluttered now with some of the trucks in areas. This gives us a great opportunity to consolidate all those trucks in that one location. Also, fiscal year 2015, we'll be coming back in front of the Plan Commission to propose an addition to that diesel lab area for future expansion for training for our diesel repair facility. So that's why I'd like to take the opportunity to do this infrastructure now, clean it up, and plan for that future expansion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner Siepert?
Yeah, is this parking lot going to be lit?
Yes.
Okay.
6 LED will have security cameras as well as to power the diesel trucks. We'll have outlets out near the front so you can keep the blocks warm for the diesel trucks.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Motion on 5G.
Kavich will make a motion that the Plan Commission approve the site plan for the property at 6665 South Howell Avenue with the condition that all required stormwater, erosion control, and grading plans are submitted for review and approval by the engineering department.
Chandler seconds.
Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Crowell, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
There you go.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
He's not here. Crowell moves to adjourn at 7:10.
Seifert seconds.
Siepert second. Roll call.
Johnston, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Crowell, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you for joining us. See you maybe next week.